Well, hello. Hello, sir, and hello if anyone else is watching this video. Um, I'm making this video as a presentation for my project, Business Consultancy, or a part of Business Clinic PG Group project. Anyway, before going into anything else, I want to introduce a bit about myself. Well, my name is Shiva. I'm a master student in Northumbria University in doing business analytics with advanced practice, and I carry a bit of work experience before I started my master's. So, yeah, that's very little information about me. So, let's get started with the presentation. So, before we get started, um, I'd like to know that we will be talking about Lamesley Childcare. We will get to know more about it in the slides that we have coming next. So let's go to the first one. Yeah, that's the first one. The second slide. Yeah. So we will try to understand what Lamesley Childcare is, or why are we even talking about it? What are we going to talk about it? So the main purpose of this presentation is to know what are the challenges or how the operations work in the Lamesley Childcare. We will also try to assess the internal and the external environment of Lamesley Childcare, and we'll also be using different models. And we will also investigate about the competitors and how they how it's a healthy competition, how we can actually face them in the market. This presentation will also include, of course, the recommendations to improve our performance and the market share of the Lamesley childcare in the market. So that's a little about the childcare company that we're talking about. Let's go to the overview. Anyway, a little more introduction about the childcare is that it's the biggest school of children care in the UK, and it's 22 years old, which accommodates over 200 children. Although it's very old, 200 children is slightly a less number for such an old organization. And it's got four different types of children care assurance schemes. And then there are plenty of investors that are investing their money and time in training and developing the staff, because staff and training staff and then development is something very crucial, which we will know in the next slides, of course. And yeah, the next part is the external analysis. I'm not really sure if you can see the graph very clearly here, but I have attached a copy of this presentation file in the Word file that I have uploaded for uh, for a better visual effect. And then yeah, getting back to what we were talking about, the government is providing better help to Lamesley Childcare in 2000. This is according to 2022. And then the childcare organizations which are registered in the government, of course, are supported by the government in terms of money or in terms of growth or in any matter of fact. And then the childcare market is really a huge market in this country in UK, and the estimation of the market is and the turnover will be 5.5 billion a year in 2017-18. I wasn't able to find any stats for 2020 and over. So, so yeah, that's the stats I was able to find for 2017-18, which is 5.5 billion. And then the income that was generated by the private sector nurseries for 4.7 billion. We will talk about the private sector nurseries in a little while. And the sole traders generated about 1.4 billion, and incorporated companies of 3.3 billion. Darlington 2021. We'll talk about this one too. There were 79 nursery schools in 2020-21 in the UK, which were 3,130 in 2089. So yeah, that speaks pretty much for itself. There's plenty of stats in it with the graph that you will be able to see in the file. Let's slide over to the next one. Yeah, continuation to the previous one. There's a lot of higher unemployment rate in England. In the year 2022, the rate of unemployment was about 3.9%, which is pretty high for a developed country. And in the year 2020, there was around all these lines that we were talking about. They might appear like something that are not connected to childcare, but we should be able to connect the dots about unemployment, about the child birth rates that in 2020 we will be able to connect the dots in coming slides. So yeah, we have we had a 6,81,560 birth rates in 2020, and then advanced technology is used in relation to schools for giving progress childcare education and facilities. Organizations are a virtual assistant for teaching as well, minimizing workload. The use of assistive technology supports the student to participate and communicate effectively in the education system. Well, definitely. So this talks about using virtual assistant for teaching and using assistive technology, same thing as virtual assistant for the students to be able to better participate and communicate effectively in the education system. So let's go to the next one. As a part of external analysis, we got some more points to talk about. Like I said, we will be able to connect the dots in the coming slides. The air pollution is highly, the pollution limits have been breached in UK, which is a very concerning thing at this point. And then the nitrogen level in the air is 75%. Uh, and the reason for the polluted air is over 40,000 early passings. The reason for the polluted air is over 4 early passings or deaths each year. Health of children is negatively impacted by polluted air and carbons. So if we're talking about air pollution, now we have a point why we're talking about air pollution. So with that pollution, health of the children is highly impacted and negatively. It produces carbon emissions, so definitely not good for health. And then I think to to stop this from happening, we might need different lawful necessities that must be trialed by childcare schools. And then there's also something in place called Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 to give security to everyone, literally, not just childcare. And the childcare organizations are separately regulated by Children Act 1989 to deal with the kids in the school. So that's some more points there. Influence of external forces. The support of UK government and political stability is helpful for Lamesley Childcare to support services to the children in school. So yeah, a point talks about the government supporting some more childcare companies, also including Lamesley Childcare. And coronavirus made an adverse consequence all around business. Subsequently, many schools have shut, and schools have completely been closed ever since the epidemic has begun. So this is something that everyone knew. Everyone working over the office will have stopped working office and then had to shift over and then start working from home. Same goes to the schools. They had to learn. Everyone had to stay over the home and then adapt to a new way of technology, adapt to a new way of education. So this is something that we've known in the last 2 years. Yeah, that's. I think that's made a lot of impact. The association needs to foster a few novel technologies to adapt the challenge. The rate of birth in the nation has diminished, which can affect the association. For that actually makes sense. Now we're connecting the dots. The UK is polluted highly, which causes children of Lamesley might be able to become rich. So at this point, it's not just the Lamesley childcare that are at risk. In general, the kids in the UK are at risk with the air becoming polluted in an area where it is more densely populated. To keep up with the well-being and the cleanliness of the appropriately or in school or in a public area, it will be difficult if the pollution goes on this way. Moving on, so we will now try to learn about the challenges that are faced by childcare services. We will try to get more into details here because this is where I want to pay the more attention. Um, the employee retention during COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, that's a one important point to talk about. It's a childcare. where there is a lot less people working, lot less people will be showing interest to work there. When the epidemic hit badly, the work staff went even down. So employee retention, what companies trying to get their employees back or trying to get the new employees back has been a biggest struggle or challenge that we can say that's faced by childcare industry. And then low pay scale to the employees. So, the employees that work in childcare barely get the minimum wage. So that's one thing to talk about here. Employees not getting recognition, status, and values. So it's been said that there's not much growth in childcare. You will be doing or you'll be doing for a long time. That is not everyone really wants. People want recognition. People want status and growth. So that's not something easy to find in childcare industry. So that's one another challenge. Communication gap in the organization and the lack of employee satisfaction. Of course, when the employees feel that they do not have enough recognition or growth, and then when the management were not able to pay enough wages, there would obviously be a communication gap. So that's one thing there. And high responsibility and workload on the staff as compared to wages they are paid. Of course, the wages paid are minimum, but the responsibility and the workload on the staff is quite heavy. Uh, Taking care of everyone is definitely um, a very responsible task, I believe. So those were a couple of challenges that were faced by the childcare services. Let's move on to the next slide. A strategic set of recommendations. So in this slide, we will try to talk about the recommendations that we could think of, or the research that I've done. Um, the recommendations are improve the communication between the management and the employees, of course, because this was one of the challenges that was faced by the industry, and then reducing work pressure to reduce the stress of the employees. And also the responsibleness of the employees that we were talking earlier. Maybe getting more employees, training more people would reduce the work pressure and making people want to stay. Valuing employees in the organization by using democratic management and leadership approach. Of course, leadership every time works. Leadership has been something that it has been my favorite topic all along in my masters. And even before with my masters, I took up a couple of leadership roles in my work experience. So yeah, with the leadership approach, you should be able to control any kind of situation. So, and the 4 point would be motivating staff through benefits and recognition. Of course, when they have benefits and when they have motivation, everyone wants to stay in the company. So that's one recommendation there. Proper training to staff and adaptive strategy of company may generate competitive edge of the company. So proper training to the staff will not only let the employees be in the company for a long time, but it will also make profits for the Lamesley Childcare or any childcare company for that matter. So, a few vague facts here, and then a few more recommendations. Hiring more talented workers, which ultimately diminish the rate of joblessness in UK. Doing this, we're not only reducing the unemployment rate, we're also creating more jobs. We're also helping more people, generating income, reducing stress. We're doing a lot of things using this, maintaining health and safety of the employees to keep up with the disinfection consistently, as well as use face masks. So this is something I wanted to add after the epidemic to keep everyone safe, the kids, the staff, everyone around us. Uh, Maybe just to follow the regular and standard process that we usually do, wearing a face mask or sanitizing your hands before we make any physical touch. And then wages according to minimum and standard wages decided by government's law. Yeah, I think wages, instead of wages being restricted to being minimum, I think wages should be paid according to the responsibilities. So that way, people would be accepting to take more responsibilities and then become more motivated because